CEO discovers a 10-year-old girl wearing a bracelet he gave his ex, an unexpected twist that transcends time and choice. Jordan Miller's mind raced through the dimly lit skyscrapers of Manhattan, the relentless pressure of deadlines and shareholder meetings weighing heavily on his shoulders. It was rare to feel anything beyond work and ambition these days. Yet, as he strolled through Bryant Park in search of a fleeting moment of clarity, the sound of a child's laughter sliced through his haze. He turned, eyes drawn toward a whirlwind of energy, a 10-year-old girl whose bright eyes gleamed with a joy he had long forgotten amidst the sterile corridors of corporate power. Her laughter sounded like music, rising higher than the horns and chatter of the bustling street. But it was the delicate bracelet clasped around her wrist that made his heart lurch. He recognized it at once. His ex-wife Emma had worn the same one, a token of love given on their last anniversary. The combination of nostalgia and regret hit Jordan like a tsunami, pulling him under. Who was this girl, radiating light as if to starkly contrast his own shadowed existence? "Hi, I'm Lily," she exclaimed, urging Jordan closer with her infectious enthusiasm. As they chatted, he found himself grappling with a surge of conflicting emotions. Here stood Emma's daughter, a vivid reminder of a life he had walked away from. Panic twisted in his stomach. Had Emma truly managed to navigate the tides of single parenthood without him? The questions swirled relentlessly, each one thicker than the last. What had she sacrificed? And what kind of childhood had this girl experienced without a father in her life? With each gleeful laugh from Lily, Jordan's heart softened. He saw the remnants of everything good about his lost relationship with Emma, but their shared history was now tainted by abandonment. Financial desperation drifted into his mind when Lily inadvertently mentioned how hard it was for her mom. Struggling to find a way to make ends meet, they clung to each other just to survive. The weight of Jordan's past decisions loomed heavy. Could he reach out, extend a hand, without spiraling them into a new complexity? First, he'd need a courage he wasn't sure he possessed, a way to break through the jagged fence he had built around his heart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but as the brilliant innocence of Lily danced before him, so did the stark reality of his own life choices. His mind churned, every corporation he led, every deal he brokered reverberated the false promises he clung to. How could he untangle his responsibilities as a CEO from the gut-wrenching urge to intervene in the life of his former family? Was he merely trying to ease his guilt, a man down on luck looking for redemption, or could he truly restore the connections that mattered? In those fleeting moments of laughter shared with Lily, he began to glimpse a path, a horizon just beyond reach. Just then, a call shattered the illusion, the voice on the other end delivering news that sent shockwaves through his already fractured world. The weight of the revelation forced him to confront the duality of his ambitions and past regrets. As he hung up, he felt a chasm open beneath him, stretching between who he was, an executive driven by success, and who he wished to be, a man yearning for the ties of love he once severed. The decision lay ahead, tantalizing and terrifying. Would he reclaim what he lost, or push forward with dreams built on an empty foundation? The tension tightened, leaving him adrift in uncertainty, the echoes of his past growing louder by the second. Jordan stood at the edge of Bryant Park, his mind racing as the laughter of Lily echoed in his ears, contrasting sharply with the numbness that had enveloped him for so long. The conversation hadn't just stirred memories, it had peeled back layers of himself he thought he had buried. Each joyful tidbit Lily shared felt like a reveal, a glimpse into another world where he had once walked hand in hand with Emma. He gazed at her, a mixture of wonder and despair churning within him. Lily was so much like Emma, her grin filled with a sincerity he hadn't encountered in years. Inside his chest, a flicker of hope ignited, but it battled fiercely with his instinct to retreat into the safety of solitude and work. Jordan turned and made his way toward a nearby bench, seeking grounding as fear lapped at his insides. As he sat, his thoughts were a torrent of emotions: regrets, guilt, longing. The call that had shattered his moment of clarity echoed still in his mind, a reminder of the looming financial crisis threatening his company. Everything he had fought for, the sleepless nights and relentless ambition, now felt like a hollow pursuit. Was he destined to chase excellence in a corporate world that only left him feeling empty? The contrast between the life of a CEO and the warmth of a family enveloped him, begging for examination that he pulled out his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. It would be so easy to call Emma, to bridge the vast expanse of years and decisions that lay between them. Yet, doubt surged: would his past intrusion cause more harm than good? Could he present himself as someone worthy of re-entering their lives, a father in search of redemption? The internal struggle waged on, filled with self-recriminations. The more he thought about it, the more managing a billion-dollar company felt trivial compared to nurturing a relationship with his daughter. Every instinct told him to retreat, uphold the facade that success could fulfill him, but another, quieter voice pushed him to confront his demons. He had been, for too long, caught in a cycle where business took precedence over personal connections that he bit his lip, contemplating the path ahead. Counting his successes in the boardroom seemed monumental, but what were those triumphs against a child's laughter? Could he balance the weight of corporate responsibilities alongside a yearning for paternal presence? The stakes had never felt higher. His gaze shifted back to Lily, who was adorning herself with fallen leaves, each one a promise of transformation. She radiated potential, embodying a light that shattered the shadows of his self-doubt. He felt the warmth of inspiration tugging at his heart. Could he harness that joy, channel it into a newfound purpose? Suddenly, a wave of determination washed over him. He would not allow fear to paralyze him. Instead, he could transform the chaos within into something constructive. He opened his phone, letting the pulse of possibility guide his fingers as he scrolled for Emma's contact. The invisible thread connecting them was still there, it simply needed to be untangled. Just as his thumb hovered over the call button, a new notification broke his concentration. The impending deadline for a crucial deal loomed larger in his mind, forcing a conflict back to the surface. His heart raced. Would he prioritize the matter that had defined his life for so long, or dare to step into a role that could reshape his identity, one not confined to the boardroom? In that moment, the tension coiled tight within him. Could he forsake the comfort of authority for the uncertainty of fatherhood? The moments of warmth he shared with Lily shimmered in his mind, juxtaposed against the cold truths of corporate life. Another call from his office chimed in, a reminder that responsibility beckoned loudly. As the phone rang again, he hesitated. The decision to embrace new paths or stay tethered to his old ones felt like a tightrope walk over the abyss. The weight pressed in, forcing him to a singular belief: the time had come to face the fears that had driven him for far too long. Would he step forward into uncharted territory, or retreat into the known? As he breathed deeply, he realized neither choice was clear-cut. But one decision lingered, powerful and demanding: make the call. And with it, his world might change forever. Jordan's fingers trembled as he placed the phone back in his pocket, weighing the implications of both decisions. Gaze fixed on the vibrant colors of the autumn leaves, he was struck by the duality of things. The choices that lay before him almost seemed to reflect the decay and hope of the season. Each leaf that fluttered to the ground whispered the urgency of change, yet he remained rooted, bound by uncertainty. Lily's laughter, pure and untainted, reverberated through his mind, blending seamlessly with the incessant buzzing of his phone. The calls from his office grew louder in contrast to the stillness surrounding him. Jordan rested his arms on his knees, allowing the weight of his roles to crash over him like a series of waves washing onto the shore. In this wild tug-of-war between his career and a chance at redemption, he questioned whether he had the strength to redefine himself. Memories flooded his mind: the late nights spent poring over spreadsheets, his heart racing in the boardroom, the thrill of victory that ultimately felt like a mirage. The acknowledgement hit him: he had allowed external accolades to mask the void that had widened in his personal life. What did it mean to be a CEO if being one meant abandoning the people he claimed to cherish? The corporate victories seemed trivial now, mountains made of sand slipping through his fingers. What mattered was the vision of a daughter yearning for connection, echoing the laughter of a mother he had once loved deeply. He couldn't simply bury these realizations and let them fade like footprints in the sand. Jordan knew he had to act, but the very thought of it sent chills down his spine. He stood, forcing his legs to move despite the resistance. He took a step towards the park center, drawn towards Lily. If her innocence could spark the hope he felt now, perhaps it was time to hope for himself too. "Hey, Lily!" he called out, his voice coated with a mixture of eagerness and apprehension. She turned, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Are we going to jump in the leaves?" she asked, the delight in her voice a stark contrast to the storm brewing within him. A small smile tugged at the corners of his mouth, and for a fleeting moment, he forgot the tension gnawing at him. "I think that's a great idea. But first, I need to ask you something." Her expression shifted, intrigue piqued. She nodded, looking expectantly at him, as if she held the weight of his next decision. Jordan knelt in front of her, suppressing the tears of revelation that threatened to break through. Do you think it's possible to start over? To make things right again?" It was a simple question, yet it held the heavy weight of years lost. Lily regarded him with an intensity that echoed wisdom beyond her years. "I think it is. As long as you try." With those words, clarity began to form within him. He could seek out Emma. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating, filled with the knowledge of his failures and the fervent hope of potential reconciliation. Jordan straightened himself, the decision crystallizing in his mind. He would approach Emma this time with vulnerability instead of expectation, armed with the profound understanding that family isn't a role, it's a bond to be nurtured. Taking a deep inhale, he felt lighter, as if each breath he drew wove a new purpose into his identity. Jordan's heart raced, a new rhythm pulsing through him, one that spoke of possibilities untold. "Let's jump in those leaves!" he exclaimed, suddenly seized by the joy he hadn't felt in years. As they ran together, laughter rippling around them like music, he glimpsed a path forward, one where success was defined not by boardroom conquests, but by the connections he dared to foster with those he loved. Yet, even amid this exhilarating moment, a thought lingered. The upcoming call to Emma awaited him, another leap into the unknown. Would he succeed in rekindling a relationship that had been lost? Or would the past serve as a barrier too great to overcome? Jordan's pulse quickened, caught between hope and fear. The moment had arrived to take the plunge into new territory, but the outcomes remained uncertain. Clouded by his past, their joyous laughter faded into the distance, beckoning him forward even as he remained suspended on the edge of self-discovery. Would he summon the courage to reach out and bridge the years that separated them? Jordan's heart was racing as he knelt beside Lily, the soft crunch of leaves a mere backdrop to the tempest inside him. Each moment distanced him from his old self, a clashing interplay of fear and anticipation enveloping him. Her innocent laughter echoed through the landscape, brightening his fading hope. As the sunlight streamed through the branches overhead, it illuminated the path he chose to take. Yet, amidst the warmth of the moment, the thought of calling Emma loomed like an unshakable shadow. He stood up, the crisp, autumn air filling his lungs. "Lily," he began, "let's make a pact. We'll jump in the leaves and then, after that, I need to do something important. Something that could change everything." "Okay," she chirped, unfazed by his serious tone, her enthusiasm infectious. She bounded ahead, her laughter urging him to chase after her while the now seemingly petty concerns of the corporate world faded further into the background. As they dove into the pile of leaves, he allowed the confusion of the past week to dissolve in the vibrant chaos of nature. Each leaf that swirled up to meet them felt like a fresh start, like each moment could be a new beginning, one filled with laughter and unfettered joy. For the first time in a long while, a sense of clarity washed over him, the innocence of the moment juxtaposed starkly against the complex task ahead. With each leap into the leaves, his mind raced. He envisioned Emma's face, the years etched into her features. The space between them had widened, yet this morning's conversation with Lily ignited a flicker of determination in his heart. He knew the call would not eliminate his mistakes, nor would it complete the picture he yearned for, but it could build a bridge over the chasm of years lost. "Lily," he said, gathering her attention again. "What do you think makes a family strong?" Lily paused, glancing towards the scattered leaves. "Love," she declared, her declaration as bright as her smile. "And trying really hard to be nice, even when it's not easy." Her innocent wisdom struck him like a bolt of lightning. Being nice, being open and honest was one of the first steps he could take. Jordan knelt, meeting her eyes. "You're right. But sometimes it's really hard to be nice when you're scared." Lily's brow furrowed ever so slightly, deep in thought. "But I think if you want to try, you can fight the scary." Jordan opened his mouth to respond, but the weight of her wisdom held it closed. He could fight the scary, perhaps he just needed to reframe the fear itself. It wasn't he about facing Emma only, but understanding what awaited him in that conversation, the vulnerability, the truth, and possibly the next chapter of his life. Finishing their playful adventure, the color of the sky began to shift, mirroring the turmoil in his chest. They walked back slowly, their laughter gradually fading into comfortable silence. As they tossed the last few leaves in the air, Jordan's phone buzzed again in his pocket, the reminder of the impending decision, a stark contrast to the joy surrounding them. He stood still for a moment, pulse quickening. With Lily skipping ahead, he caught his breath and made a decision. He'd go home and prepare for their call, no more avoidance. His resolve had solidified. He needed this not just for his fractured family but for his own redemption. His fingers brushed against the phone, contemplating the call that could open a portal to healing or plunge him deeper into regret. The decision loomed before him, the uncharted territory filled with potential but equally with the ghosts of his inadequacies. Jordan's mind spiraled into the possibilities of what lay ahead. The moment had come to face not only Emma but the specter of his past actions. With determined breath, he dialed her number, his heart pounding as the phone rang. Would this be a conversation that forged understanding or further entangled them in unresolved issues? As he awaited her voice on the other end, the shadows of what had been and hope for what could be danced before him, an intricate balance of light and darkness, vulnerability and strength. In his efforts to reclaim the ties of his past, he faced a stark realization: would this reconnection serve as a catalyst for true forgiveness, or would it reveal the ghosts they both had tried to escape? As the phone's ringing settled into an uncomfortable rhythm, Jordan wrestled with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Each tone felt like a reminder of the chasm between him and Emma, the air thickened with unspoken apologies and unshed tears. What would her response be? Would she carry with her the anger that had once simmered just beneath the surface? "Come on, Emma," he murmured under his breath, barely aware of the trees swirling gently around him. The branches above rustled, as if nature itself were holding its breath, awaiting their rekindled connection. When her voice finally broke through, it was hesitant, almost fragile. "Jordan. Is that you?" "Hey," he said, praying his voice didn't betray the knot forming in his stomach. "It's me. I've been thinking about us." "Us?" she echoed, disbelief threading her words. What's there left to say? The initial sting of her response shot through him, but this was it was time to confront the past. "I know I've messed up, and I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I need you to know that I've changed. I've been working hard on myself." "Changed?" she scoffed, yet he detected the faint tremor in her tone, an echo of cracks in the ice beneath them. "You think saying you've changed is enough? It doesn't erase the years." "Emma, I know. I spent months running away from my failures," he admitted, his voice straining as an uncomfortable truth emerged. "But I really am trying to figure this out. I want to understand what happened between us, and I need your help to do that." The silence that followed felt heavy. Jordan could almost hear the hum of her thoughts, the conflict swirling behind her composure. He envisioned her sitting at her kitchen table, their daughter's bracelet lying innocently in the corner, evoking memories both sweet and bitter. Finally, she spoke, her voice softer but infused with caution. "Do you think you can truly be there for Lily?" It was a piercing question, cutting through the chaos inside him. "I need to be," he replied with resolve. For her, I want to be the father she deserves. I can't change the past, but I can change who I am going forward. Another pause stretched between them. He felt the weight of their history, the burdens of their shared dreams intertwined with the shadows of disappointment. Jordan breathed deeply, contemplating the fragility of this moment. Emma, I want to be part of Lily's life, not just as a father but as someone who can support you too. I want us to build something new. Building something new doesn't come from the ashes of old mistakes, Jordan. It takes trust, she said carefully. Trust is earned. The challenge hung in the air, and Jordan felt the flicker of determination reignite within him. I'm willing to do the work. I don't want to lose either of you. Words won't be enough this time, she warned. You can't just call and expect everything to be okay. Her words struck a chord deep within him, fueling an urge to confront his past failures head-on. I'll show you, he said, the urgency in his voice rising. When can we meet? Just because you're asking doesn't mean I'm ready to answer. Frustration bubbled within him. He had come so far, but the harsh reality of reparation bore down heavier than anticipated. The reality of his path forward was becoming crystallized in exhilaration but tainted with the weight of what lay ahead. If you need time, I understand, he said, tension snaking through him. Just know that I'm fighting for this for you and for Lily. I want to prove that I can make this right. Proving you can is a long road, she sighed, but there was something in her surrender that revitalized the hope inside him. I'll think about it. A glimmer of resolve rose in him, ignited by the challenge. If he could navigate this new reality with courage, he could transform pain into opportunity. As they wrapped up the call, he realized he was no longer merely attempting to reclaim ties but was on the brink of unearthing deeper truths previously obscured by fear. Jordan hung up, staring into the golden hues of the day fading into twilight. He realized this was just the beginning. He had to not only meet the expectations placed upon him but to confront himself. Was he ready to dive into the darkest parts of his journey, eager to face not only Emma but also the man he had been? The answers loomed, clear yet elusive, as the evening deepened around him. One thought consumed him: could the road ahead bring about the growth and redemption he craved, or would it lead to further heartbreak? Each question stirred the fire within him, propelling him forward into uncertainty. He stood at the threshold of a pivotal transformation, aware that the next step would demand even greater courage. The time had come to cultivate the trust he wished to rebuild or risk everything once more. Jordan paced back and forth in his small apartment, his mind racing with thoughts about the call with Emma. He had poured everything into that conversation, and as he replayed it in his head, he wondered if he had done enough to convey his sincerity. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. The stakes were unbearably high. Losing Emma and Lily again was not an option. That he glanced at his reflection in the hallway mirror, hollow eyes, unkempt hair, the remnants of years spent in emotional retreat. This wasn't the man he wanted to be. Today, something shifted within him. A fire ignited that had long been smothered by self-doubt and regret. The commitment to reclaim his role as a father morphed into a broader desire for transformation. It wasn't enough to show up, he needed to become someone worthy of trust. Starting with small, actionable steps, determined to take control of the moment, he decided to apply for a mentorship program at work. The initiative would connect him with mentors who specialized in leadership development. Not only would it help him professionally, but it forced him to engage with himself more deeply, discovering strengths he had long ignored. The application process alone felt like a mirror reflecting both his ambitions and shortcomings. He had endlessly delayed this leap, always attributing his stagnation to external circumstances. He grabbed his laptop and began to type, focusing on his goals and what he hoped to achieve through mentorship. The words flowed steadily, guiding him toward clarity. He envisioned a future not defined solely by his failures but shaped by the lessons learned from them. As he reflected on his past mistakes, he realized they were not just obstacles, they were stepping stones that could lead to transformation if he chose to learn from them. Midway through the application, he found himself questioning his motivations. Why was he going through this effort? To win Emma back? To be a good father? Or was it something deeper, an intrinsic fight against his own mediocre existence? As he stared at his reflections in the screen, snippets of the call with Emma replayed in his mind. Trust is earned. It was a haunting reminder that he had to be more than just words. He had a history to amend, not to mention the nurturing relationship he had to foster with Lily. Every action he took from this moment needed to resonate with sincerity, echoing the commitment he had just claimed. Jordan clicked submit on the application, a rush of adrenaline flooding his system. Completing it felt like taking the first real step forward, not just for him, but for his family. The sense of accomplishment buoyed his spirits, allowing a smile to form despite the buzzing anxiety about the future. As the night deepened, he reflected on the upcoming weeks filled with workshops, networking, and growth. Would this newfound commitment translate to real change? Would he arrive at a place where Emma could see that he was earnest in his intentions? Determined to build a new foundation, he found himself browsing family activity ideas online. The aim was to find ways to connect with Lily. He wanted to learn her interests, know what made her laugh, and ultimately cultivate a genuine relationship, but with his heart racing in excitement, he felt a twitch of anxiety creeping back. The underlying fear always lingered: what if all these changes weren't enough? What if he faltered again, slipping back into old habits? A ping on his phone shattered his thoughts. A notification regarding an upcoming family seminar at the local community center flashed across the screen. His pulse quickened. Could this be a chance to meet other parents and share experiences? Jordan's breath caught in his throat. This opportunity could allow him to step outside his comfort zone while aiding his journey. Was he finally ready to face everything that came with it? The adrenaline coursing through him urged him onward. This was more than just about parenting or personal growth. It was a test of his resolve. Before he could rethink it, he registered for the seminar, his heart pounding with anticipation. As he closed his laptop, an unshakable thought surged within him: transformation demanded action, and action could lead to unforeseen possibilities. But as possibilities shimmered on the horizon, he wrestled with uncertainty. Could he navigate this new territory without losing sight of himself? The stakes had never been higher, and he could feel the tension building around him. The moment he stepped into that room to meet other parents, everything could change. This was a step into the unknown, a test he must pass to prove his commitment to Emma, Lily, and ultimately himself. Jordan awoke the next day with a restless energy coursing through him. The seminar loomed ahead, like a lighthouse guiding ships through treacherous waters. He could still feel the exhilaration from his impulsive registration, yet beneath it lay a gnawing apprehension. The concept of changing his life was exciting, but the execution was daunting. His morning routine had transformed into a careful meditation, each task deliberate as he prepared. He chose a simple outfit, nothing overly flashy, as he wanted to reflect authenticity rather than desperate attempts to impress. Standing in front of the mirror, he rehearsed the words he would say if asked about his journey. He needed to be raw, honest. But instead of confidence, doubt seeped into his mind. What would he say if questioned about his past? Would they judge him? Jordan shook off the intrusive thoughts, reminding himself that vulnerability was essential for his growth. The old him, the one filled with anxiety and self-loathing, would have avoided this situation altogether. But today, fear could not dictate his moves. He was stepping out of the shadows to embrace both the discomfort and the possibility of genuine connection. As he drove to the seminar, he put on a motivational podcast that spoke of personal resilience. Stories of others overcoming adversity resonated deeply within him, illuminating a path forward. He felt his heart rate steady as inspiration replaced dread. Instead of seeing this event as a judgment day, he began considering it an opportunity to learn and possibly mentor others in their struggles. Upon arriving, Jordan hesitated at the entrance. The chatter filled the space, alive with parents sharing laughter and tips over their children's activities. He felt like an outsider, peering through a window at a world he longed to join. Still, he pushed the door open. The first session began with introductions, and as each participant spoke, Jordan listened intently. He heard stories of sleepless nights, relentless efforts to balance work and family, and the mistakes parents made along the way. These revelations struck him, he realized everyone was wrestling their own demons. It felt liberating to be present among a community that understood the challenges he faced. Then, it was his turn. Standing before the group, Jordan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their eyes on him. He spoke about his struggle with trust, his desire to reconnect with his daughter, and the steps he was taking to reclaim his identity. Each word was tinged with honesty, and for the first time, it felt genuine. He looked into the audience and saw nods of understanding. Each person reflected bits of himself back. As the session progressed, he found himself captivated by the stories shared by a fellow parent, a woman named Carla. She detailed her own journey of overcoming loss and rebuilding her life for her son. In her narrative, Jordan discovered an unexpected ally. Her resilience mirrored his own aspirations, igniting a curious spark within him. After the session, they gravitated towards each other during the break. Conversation flowed easily, and they exchanged ideas, soon diving into their aspirations for their children. In Carla, he sensed a kindred spirit, a person equally invested in self-improvement, but with a wisdom that awed him. The discussion veered toward actionable steps, and an idea struck him: perhaps they could collaborate in creating an activity for other parents that blended their strengths. Filling a gaping void in his own life with shared purpose felt exhilarating. Yet the realization of potential partnership birthed another fear. Could he truly trust not only himself but allow someone else into his budding journey? As the seminar continued, Jordan reflected on the newfound excitement coursing through him. Would connecting with Carla lead him to a clearer path, both personally and professionally? With every smile exchanged, he felt shackled by a mix of thrill and self-doubt, but it was a discomfort he was willing to embrace. The day unfolded, shattering dividing walls. He even felt a genuine sense of camaraderie forming, not just with Carla, but with others around him, all driven by the same tenacity for growth and rediscovery. Yet, the more Jordan opened up, the more palpable the underlying tension grew. Could he maintain this vulnerability? Would he falter when faced with real-life challenges? The stakes were high, and the answers lay just beyond reach. As he stood in the seminar's echoing halls, pulsating with new energy and anxiety, his thoughts spiraled into concerning territories. This was his turning point, but was he truly prepared for what lay ahead? Before he could find resolution, a message from Emma pinged on his phone. It was brief, but it pulled at something deep within him, a reminder of the evolving connections in his life. What if this changes everything? He pondered, staring at the notification with anticipation and dread. The moment he opened it, he sensed the future shifting once more, and the thrill of uncertainty electrified his veins. What would it unleash? Jordan's heart thudded in his chest as he registered the text from Emma, his ex-wife. It was a simple message, but its implications loomed large. "We need to talk." As he stared at the words, a surreal mix of hope and dread coiled in his stomach. The seminar around him continued to ebb and flow, discussions blossoming into fervent conversations, yet his mind drifted to memories of a past he thought he was last wrestling with. Would Emma want to discuss their daughter, Olivia? Could today's experiences allow him to face the mother of his child anew? He forced himself to absorb the environment around him, drawing strength from it. The resonance of shared struggles had somehow reinforced his resolve, compelling him to confront not just his history but his potential future. A part of him was terrified, sensing that the conversations he just had with Carla and others were mere prelude to something more profound, an opportunity to redefine how he connected with his family. As the next session began, focusing on navigating relationships, Jordan's thoughts were constantly pulled back to Emma. He remembered their last conversation, which had ended in confusion and frustration, feelings that now morphed into determination. There was no choice left but to be honest with himself. He longed to fix what was broken, but the scars of their past made every step daunting. Jordan's attentiveness gave way to muted reflections. What had he learned from this seminar that might help him navigate this personal terrain? Opening up had its merits. He'd seen that firsthand today. He'd thought about vulnerability as a cornerstone to build trust. How could that apply when he reached out to Emma? A poignant question arose within him: was he ready to admit the depths of his failings while simultaneously asking for a second chance? The stakes felt monumental, yet he knew he couldn't retreat. He could feel the intrinsic battle of fortitude versus uncertainty. During a break, unable to shake off the surrounding energy, Jordan approached Carla. Their discussions had left him buoyed, but now he needed a sounding board. "Can I ask something?" he ventured cautiously, the words tinged with urgency. "Of course." Her eyes met his with genuine concern. "What do you do when the most significant relationship in your life feels like it crumbled into dust, and you want to piece it back together?" Carla contemplated his question, her face softening as she spoke. "You have to build a new foundation. It won't look the same, but that doesn't mean it can't be strong. Own your mistakes. Be honest, and above all be patient." Her words were grains of wisdom that lodged in his mind. The notion of patience had always eluded him, but perhaps it could serve as a guidepost. Rebuilding wasn't about rushing back to what was, but rather reimagining what could be. Step by step, after thanking her, Jordan put one foot in front of the other, his heart a tempest of fear and hope. Each moment seemed to align, reminding him that the seminar was more than about pure connections, it transcended to personal relationships that mattered most. He texted Emma back, "When are you available?" A flood of anxiety washed over him as he sent the message. Instantly, he was seized by memories of failed attempts to reconcile and nights wasted in anger. Was this a miscalculation too? The buzzing of his phone snapped him out of his swirling thoughts. Emma's reply came quickly, "Tomorrow." His stomach tightened, an electric charge igniting his sense of purpose. Tomorrow would bring a chance swimming in uncertainty, yet laced with the potential for redemption. He would step into the ring once more, yet as he faced this promise of possibility, another familiar weight settled onto his shoulders. Would he falter when the moment came? Could he truly navigate this emotional landscape? The thrill of stepping into the unknown both terrified and exhilarated him. The seminar ended, and as participants exchanged goodbyes, a tsunami of realizations swept through Jordan. This was not just about career advancements or personal growth, it was a matter of rebuilding his life and re-establishing his family. And the foundations he dug today would influence everything. With Carla's words echoing in his mind, Jordan left the building, but the sky felt heavy even as the sun set. His next steps loomed ominously. Would they lead to restoration or further heartbreak? Tomorrow awaited, but before he could ponder further, another unexpected message flashed across his screen. As he opened it, the optimism he'd clung to began to twist. What awaited him could redefine everything he fought for. Jordan's pulse surged as he read the new message. It was a photo accompanied by a single line, "Look who's wearing your gift." The image depicted Olivia, clearly taken from a distance as she played in the park, laughing and swinging, a delicate bracelet gleaming brightly against her wrist, the same one he had given Emma for their daughter's 5th birthday. It held an ocean of memories, each beat a fragment of their past, now hauntingly present. A swell of dread rose within him, mingling with an impulsive urge to act. What kind of conversation would this image ignite when he met Emma tomorrow? Would it be a symbol of hope, linking them back to their shared history, or a dark reminder of rifts unhealed? His breaths came more rapidly as he considered the implications. The bracelet, now worn by his daughter, seemed to tether him to a life he felt both nostalgic for and burdened by. Did Emma know Olivia was wearing it? Would she see it as a connection, or just another reflection of their failed attempts at co-parenting? Casting a glance up at the darkening sky, Jordan realized he was standing still, lost in turmoil while the world continued around him. He forced himself to move on autopilot, unconsciously heading towards a nearby cafe, an impulse to ground himself before the impending emotional storm. As he entered, the ambience was lively, but he didn't truly register the chatter of customers or the clinking of cups. Instead, he found himself at a corner table, the weight of anticipation filling the space around him. With shaking hands, he took out his notebook from the seminar, the pages filled with insights and personal notes. Scanning through his reflections, he stumbled upon heartfelt reminders of vulnerability, how it was necessary for healing and reconciliation. His relationship with Emma had once thrived on open communication, something that had corroded over years of resentment. Perhaps she too had felt the suffocating weight of silence and regret. Could he break through that wall? He scribbled down thoughts, noting down his feelings about the bracelet, hoping to articulate a sentiment that conveyed love rather than loss when he spoke with Emma. Jordan's mind wandered through memories of Olivia, her first steps, the laughter shared, the days when they were a cohesive unit. But every time his mind brushed against joy, it was swiftly followed by a pang of guilt. He had let slip through his fingers what mattered most, all for pride and misunderstanding. As he flipped the pages, overcrowded with ideas and emotions, he came to a revelation. The more he scribbled, the more he recognized a pattern of hesitance intertwined with an eagerness to reconnect. There was an undeniable yearning to mend what had frayed. But was mending enough? Or did he need to create something entirely different with Emma? Each stroke of the pen transformed his internal chaos into clarity. He needed to approach this conversation not with the anticipation of reinstating their old relationship, but to focus on rebuilding a partnership grounded in mutual respect for their roles as co-parents. Emerging from his thoughts, he noticed the cafe was buzzing with life, the perfect metaphor for what he hoped to reinstate with Emma: movement, energy, and the possibility of forging ahead. As he finished his coffee, he rose and glanced at the time. Tomorrow was fast approaching, an opportunity waiting just around the corner. Would he show up prepared for real transformation, or would old fears drown him again? As he stepped outside, the chill of the evening air energized him. He still didn't know how Emma would react, nor the path they might take, but he felt imbued with a newfound resolve. Nothing could change if he didn't dare to confront and embrace the moment. Yet, amidst this resolve, a lingering question gnawed at him: had he really changed enough? When the sun rose, would he rise with it, emboldened and resolute? The next day would reveal all. But as he turned to head home, another message blinked on his phone. This time, it was from Emma. The content made his heart race, an unexpected twist that could redefine everything he had prepared for. What had she said? Was she extending an olive branch, or gearing up for a confrontation? The anxiety was palpable as he tapped to open her message, the answer looming just beyond his grasp. Jordan awoke with a mindfulness that brushed away the remnants of doubt that had shrouded him for too long. Today was the day, an opportunity he had long yearned for, a chance to steer the course of his life in a new direction. As he dressed, he felt more like a man prepared for battle than a hesitant father. Each piece of clothing he put on signified a layer of resolve, reminding him of the purpose underlying this moment. He was no longer just a CEO, he was Jordan, a father willing to confront the mistakes of his past. After a brief morning ritual, he inspected the little notes he had written the night before, guiding his thoughts on exactly how he wanted to approach Emma. Clarity had blossomed through introspection. He needed to be upfront about the implications of the bracelet Olivia wore, about how it tugged at the heartstrings of their shared history even as he endeavored to forge a new future. The words felt like a lifeline, a bridge crafted with intention and vulnerability. Leaving his apartment, he grabbed his car keys with a sense of purpose, a drive to ignite change beneath the surface. The city moved around him, but his world felt distinctly focused, each stoplight a countdown to the meeting that would unfold. Each passing moment bubbled with anticipation, threading together the shaky dynamics of redemption and reconciliation. As he navigated through Manhattan, apprehension twisted in his gut, yet he reminded himself that change comes when one is willing to step into discomfort. What mattered was the intention behind those steps, the authenticity he was determined to reclaim. He arrived at the quaint cafe where they had agreed to meet. The atmosphere felt warm, belying the storm of emotion spinning within him. As he recognized Emma's familiar figure at their chosen table, his heart raced. The years seemed to melt away, leaving in their place the memories that whispered of laughter, warmth, and shared dreams. But those memories were haunted, swirling with reminders of loss. "Jordan," Emma greeted him, a hint of caution present in her voice but juxtaposed with an openness he hadn't dared to hope for. "Emma," he replied, the name hanging gently between them, laden with everything unspoken. As they settled, the awkwardness dissipated amidst the comfort of familiarity. He felt the weight of Olivia's bracelet that had conjured both hope and regret. "I saw the picture you sent," he began, feeling emboldened by the clarity of his thoughts. "Olivia wearing that bracelet, it brought back memories. I know I stepped away from our family, and I can't change that. But I want to embrace this relationship with Olivia now. I want to be present. Emma examined his eyes, seeking the honesty he had discussed during their past conversations. You have a lot to prove, she said, the candor laced with both skepticism and a trace of willingness. I understand, he responded without flinching. Trust takes time, and I don't expect anything overnight. But every action needs to be grounded in sincerity. I will show you through my choices, both as a father and a partner in parenting. The tension around them eased, a gradual recognition of the path to repair that lay ahead. I need to see you engage, Jordan. For Olivia, she said, her voice softened as she nodded. It won't be easy. Remember, trust is built through consistent actions, not just words. Her admission ignited something deep within him. I know that now, he declared. I've changed, but I know I can only demonstrate that through commitment, through the everyday choices that reveal my growth. They discussed Olivia, the moments they yearned to shape together in her education, her interests, and acknowledging their journeys as co-parents operating from a place of respect. Each word exchanged felt transformative, cementing the foundations they hoped to build anew. Throughout their conversation, Jordan demonstrated active listening, doing more than merely reciting rehearsed lines. Every question women about Olivia echoed the seriousness of his intentions. He felt the weight of every commitment settle. Within him this was no longer about redemption for self, it was to be fully present for his daughter. As their coffee grew cold, a gentle equilibrium formed, unfurling their understanding of one another. Emma shared stories of Olivia's laughter and achievements, voicing her gratitude for the little joys that knitted together their fractured lives. Each anecdote deepened Jordan's resolve, affirming he belonged in this narrative. Jordan, let us take this slow, Emma concluded, a gentle smile emerging. I want you in our lives, but patience must be our guiding principle. The glimmer of hope sparked in his chest, fueling his spirit. Thank you for the chance to prove myself, he replied sincerely. As they began to leave, something remarkable felt different. The air hummed lightly with potential, thick with new beginnings woven from old threads. Jordan felt like a man stepping away from shadows, fully embracing his responsibilities not only as a father but as an individual committed to growth. With determination settling deep in his heart, he left the cafe aware of the commitment he had not only made to Emma but to himself. His journey had only just begun, now it was time to embrace the fullness of being a father and reclaim the joy that accompanies that role. That evening, as he sat at his desk with a renewed sense of purpose, he documented the day's events in a journal he had started. His past no longer loomed over him as a specter of shame, it instead transformed into a cemented foundation of growth, ready to nurture a new future filled with laughter, learning, and love. Jordan's mind was not solely locked in the corporate strategies that once consumed him, but instead danced with visions of shared adventures, laughter resonating around the dinner table, and watching Olivia transform into a remarkable individual. With every written word, he dismantled the barriers of his past, empowering himself in this essential journey. Today marked a turning point, a humble beginning filled with the excitement of limitless potential. And he would embrace it fully. It was time for new stories to unfold, his stories, woven with love, authenticity, and purpose. With a sigh of satisfaction, he closed his journal, feeling aligned with a deeper truth. The most important achievements cannot be counted in numbers or accolades, but rather in meaningful connections. There was no waiting. It was time to uphold his promise. Tomorrow would dawn not just a new day, but a new chapter, a chapter full of hope and connection. Make sure you're also part of this journey. If you want to witness incredible transformations that transcend beyond mere stories, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss our next exclusive emotional tales that inspire and uplift. You need to subscribe now. And don't forget to leave a like now to feed the algorithm, so we can bring more stories that challenge and change lives. Comment your reactions and theories about what lies ahead in these journeys. We want to hear from you. Lastly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support, because only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Don't wait even one more second to share.